communism and the millions of people they killed, but we refute those with better ideas. Even in our religious values, everybody can have their own choice of their religious values or none if they don't want it. So we don't try to tell people what they're supposed to do. And there's danger. There's danger in getting off on tangents with religious values as well as intellectual material. But why is it that we assume that there isn't anything that we put into our bodies we can't do it without the permission of the government? That hasn't been that for all our history. Matter of fact, it's very recent that this has come about. So I would say that we should assume responsibility for ourselves and make our own decisions. But I see this as the same decision as economic liberty. I want you not only to have the right ownership to your body to do what your body you want, I want you to be able to do with your money what you want as well. And the basic principle of this is the understanding where liberty comes from. It doesn't come from our government. Why should they tell us how to use our liberty if they didn't give it to us? If anything, the government's supposed to protect our liberties. But I see liberty coming to us in a natural way or a God-given way, and it comes to us, we have our life and our liberty. But if that is true, shouldn't we have the right to keep the fruits of our labor? It should be ours. The argument against this is that somebody, if they're allowed to make up their own decision about their personal habits, they might do some dumb things. And the other argument about economics is, well, if we don't take care of the people, they're not going to be able to take care of themselves, and they're going to be hungry, and they won't have a house, and they won't have medical care, and they have to go on and on. But the whole thing is, it doesn't work like that, because the more the government's involved, the worse those conditions get, whether they're the economic conditions or look at what the war on drugs has done. The war on drugs has caused more harm than the drugs themselves. Obviously, drugs are very dangerous, but I still believe that these decisions should be made by the individual. Before you know it, they'll be telling us what kind of food we can eat and how much salt we're allowed to have and how much exercise you have to do every day. It'll go on and on. But it should be worth something for us to live in a free society, making our own decisions, becoming the creative people that we're supposed to be. No, everybody won't become creative and productive, but most people will have a greater incentive to be creative and productive if they can't have a handout. But others argue that this is an expression that you don't care about your fellow man because he's off to do something he might hurt himself, or you're not a humanitarian. Say, oh, well, if you won't have the government being the lender of last resort and don't take care, and nobody's going to take care of the people, then you don't have any humanitarian instincts. But the whole thing is when you expect the government to do it, and people end up starving under those systems and bring us a crisis that we have today, a crisis over our liberty, a crisis in foreign policy, a crisis in our economy, how can they argue the case that they're the humanitarians? I would say that only freedom can deliver the maximum amount of goods and services to the maximum number of people. That we have had since we drifted a long way from our republic, it's closer to pure democracy. As long as you get 51%, your rights become relative. 51% tell you what to do, and therefore they can redistribute wealth until the wealth is gone. But democracy is something that the founders warned us against, because they claimed this would be, it would become very wasteful and it would erode the society, and finally that society would self-destruct. And we're at that point now because the treasury's not there. The treasury's bare, the pie is shrinking, and they're fighting and clawing away at what's left of the pie, and they have forgotten about how wealth is produced. Government does not produce wealth. They do not create wealth. We have to have a system where wealth is once again created. what happened 100 years ago or so was that people were enjoying the benefits of a free society, because a free society is very, very productive. And there's great wealth. We were the freest and the wealthiest country ever, but we're not that today because we're the most indebted country ever. So what happened was we concentrated on materialism that are the benefits of a free society. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying the benefits if you earn them. And this is good. Because people are wealthy, we shouldn't condemn it. If they're wealthy because they live off the taxpayer and they have special privileges by the Federal Reserve and they have contracts with the government, that's a different story. But we concentrated on the wealth redistribution until the wealth was drained, and we forgot about the principles of liberty, and that's what this campaign is all about. And that is what is necessary for us to restore the greatness of America. This is what is necessary to restore the benefits, once again, to be prosperous. But also to restore something called, something we would say a sense of respect for ourselves, a sense of well-being. Because if a person gets wealthy or taken care of by somebody else, they do not have this sense of self-respect as they do when they earn it themselves. They have to have this incentive to do it, and I believe it would be a healthy society, in a free society, I think it opens up the door for seeking those things called virtue and excellence. I think that's what our goals in life ought to be. Some people might not care too much about that, but as long as they lead their life the way they want and not bother anybody else, that's beside the point. But if you want to, seeking virtue and excellence and expanding oneself and being creative is very, very difficult in a totalitarian society. Because you spend most of your time just trying to survive and getting around all the government regulations, and surviving because they ruin the economy. So there's a big difference what happens in a free society. But we have been losing it. We have lost this free society, and we have become too dependent on our government to provide all the goods and services. But the experiment, though, was something that is rather new, the experiment in liberty. Liberty is a young idea. Maybe that's why young people like the idea of freedom, because it's a young idea, it's a wonderful idea. So we will be frequently challenged, and you will too, and they'll say that you want to go back to the Dark Ages, but tyranny is not part of the Dark Ages, not freedom. Freedom is new, it's been tested only a few hundred years. All we have to do is pick up the pieces where we left off approximately 80, 100 years ago and refine it, improve upon it. We don't have to go back to anything. Even the gold standard of the 19th century, I believe in sound money and commodity money. I don't believe in paper money, but I believe there's an opportunity to even have a better commodity standard of money. And I believe there's a better understanding of economic policies today. The Austrian free market economists have written in the 20th century tremendous things about what's happened. So intellectually, the revolution is well on its way, and I think most of us realize that when an idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by anybody. No army or no politician can stop us.